Hey everyone! Today we are mastering error handling together with me. My name is Dima. I'm a software engineer with almost 15 years of experience. And today we are going to add error handling in our Spring Boot application. Let me remind you what we are doing here. We are building car maintenance tracker application. The original idea is to create REST API using the Spring Boot and Postgres and so on. And as a front end, I'm going to use a custom ChatGPT, and we can integrate our REST API with ChatGPT using open API specification. So I never did it before, so if to be honest. And we will try it together with you and take a look on the result. I hope it will be fine, but if not, we will think about the front end or mobile application in the future, but it's not today or tomorrow, so it's nearest future, you know. Yeah, today our plan is to implement error handling in our application. And maybe first of all, we need to overview the HTTP status codes. But before that, I wanted to finalize a little thing from the previous stream with the JWT tokens. Very super quickly. As you remember, we were able to generate the JWT token here, right? Right here in our test. So I put it here. So I copy pasted the token and wanted to validate it here in JWT.io website. So, and it said to me that the JWT token is valid, but I could not understand last time why the signature is invalid. And it's usual developer's mistake, you know. Sometimes you have a simple mistake and you cannot realize why it doesn't work. So it's very frequent in our job. And as you know, I'm showing the whole process of the application development from the scratch. So I'm showing you every single step I'm doing to develop the application. And it also includes all my mistakes. So, and you can see how I'm fixing these mistakes and or errors or little bugs. Doesn't matter how you call it. So, and the problem here is this string actually. I need to provide the signature verification. So this is the secret. I need to insert my secret here. So we used this secret for the tests. And voila, the secret is valid, signature is verified. So, and everything is fine. So we created absolutely valid JWT token, and everything is fine from the authentication side. Okay, and that's small introduction before we got started with the error handling. And now it's time to handle the errors in our application. So first of all, I think it makes sense to overview which error codes do we have in the REST API and the most frequently used status codes, right? Because we need to know which status code to return in different situations. So one of the most popular status codes is 400 bad request. In the most cases, it's the problem in the validation. For example, you provided the wrong, I don't know. So we specified that this field should be email, and you provided just simple string. Or we specified on the backend that this value should be minimum 0, and you sent -1, for example. So this is the bad requests. This is the client error, means that the client provided us some wrong data or invalid data. So this is the 400s. the second one, unauthorized. Actually, it's more like unauthenticated. So this status code is used when the user provided the wrong status code or wrong login and password, for example. So, and as you remember, we added the security config. Yeah, we have this configurer. Oh, this is the entry. Yeah, this one. So, and in case of the authentication problem, we return the authenticated. So this is the servlet responses, but the Spring has its own class that contains all these status codes as well. So we used unauthorized, but in reality, it should be authenticated. So it's very convenient in IntelliJ that you can see the links here, and you can open the link here and see the specification. Yeah, so as you can see, this status code indicates that user lacks valid authentication credentials. So it should be unauthenticated status code in reality, but it is as it is. Almost never used it before. Forbidden. This is the second part of the authentication. It's authorization. That means that user is authenticated, but it doesn't have enough permissions to access this page. So sometimes I don't want to expose the status code. I don't want to say to someone outside that we even have this page by returning this status code for 403. And some of the developers are using 404 instead of 403 just to hide the implementation, hide the internal URLs. So, and this is one of the most popular status codes in the internet. You have seen a lot of not found pages, I think. So this status code, if something is not found, so it's very frequently used. Method is not allowed. Never never used it by my hands before. My wife is sending me some messages. I forgot to turn off my my Telegram as usual, you know. So 405. Usually Spring handles it for you. So you can see this message when, for example, you define the URL with, for example, with the post method, HTTP method, but you make request with the get. So this method is not allowed. Not acceptable, again. So it depends on the content type, as far as I remember, and I don't use it by hands as well. So you can read what it represents. So as you can see, the server should generate a payload containing a list of available representation characteristics, and so on and so on. So it depends on the, you know, I think it's related to the content type of the request. So again, Spring will handle it for you. Never seen this before. Request timeout. Yeah, you can get it sometimes when your microservice is doing request to another microservice. So and it waits for some time to get the response back, and if it's out of time, we can get this request timeout exception back. The conflict. 409. Yeah, this one is frequently used. For example, you want to register user with the same email. So in such case, we can throw the 4 or 9 status code back. This one, maybe it's used for some search engine optimization to say Google that a page is gone, but in the REST API, I've never seen it. Let's scroll down. Sorry. What's interesting for us, unsupported media type. This is what Spring can throw for you as well, I think. I've seen this message before, but it's very rare. I don't recommend to use it at all. Maybe it doesn't make sense. As you can see, a lot of deprecated exceptions here. The unprocessable entity. Sometimes the request is valid, so all the validations passed, but by some reason, your server cannot process the entity. You cannot process your request. For example, sometimes I used to return this status code when I validated the request and I need to make the request to another microservice and get back some exception from their side, and I can not propagate, but maybe just return unprocessable entity and say that my service cannot process this request. It's not because the validation and you provided some invalid data. Maybe or maybe because of this, so who knows, but our microservice is not responsible for that, and for validation is fine, but there is some reason that we cannot process this request, so something like that. What else? One more popular exception. This is the server errors, internal server error. So it's when something goes wrong, out of memory, your server failed, whatever. So a lot of reasons why. Some unexpected exceptions, for example, unhandled exceptions. So we will use it today, I think. Not implemented. Yeah, sometimes someone wants to define the API, but they had no time, for example, to do some implementation, and they could return for one temporary while they are implementing the endpoint. Service unavailable. Yeah, I think it's clear that you cannot reach the service by some reason. It's the database failed, for example, anything else. So a lot of problems can occur. I think all of these exceptions are not interested for us. So I want to write down what we are going to use. 400 for the validation, 404 if we didn't find something, 401, not found, let me write. This is the unauthorized, actually unauthenticated. It should be authenticated. Yeah, like this. This is not found. This is the bad request. So this is the conflict. We can throw it in our registration endpoint, right? What else? Maybe unprocessable entity. Who knows? And 500. Internal server error. That is the status codes that we are going to use. And as far as I remember, let me remove it. As far as I remember, we had the test with the validation errors, right? Where it is? Yes, in the authentication, I think. yeah, here we have authenticated and that's it. So, but maybe it makes sense to return some error here. But it's not the best example because we don't use a Spring mechanism to handle the errors. It's some kind of Spring mechanism, but we push the status directly here, and yeah, it doesn't make sense. We just say that authentication failed and that's it. So maybe we need to take another endpoint with the registration. So this is the success path, and this is the error. So we expect that we will get the error if passwords are not equal, right? And here we just validate the bad request response, but let's take a look what we get back as the content, because we need to say to the client what is the reason of this exception. We cannot return the empty response and just with just the status code and that's it. Let's take a look. So return, get response, get content as a string, and it's empty. So we didn't provide anything. And yeah, we need to provide the reason to the client. And there are two options. Actually. First of all, this is just an example what can be done, but we will not use this way of error handling. So you can do something like that. Not for the validation, but in general. For example, for something. So you can return the response entity with some type. And for example, in the success case, you can say that please return the okay, this is the 200 status code, or maybe it's even created. So we created the user, and inside of the created, you provide, come on. You can provide the body like this. Okay. So in created, you need to, I don't want to do it like this. So status code created, yeah, something like this. And for example, if you get the exception, you can return, for example, the bad request with some other object. So we will create it later with the error object maybe. So this is the users. Let's create some common package, common module. So this is the one way to return different status codes in Spring. For example, here we return 401, here we return 400, and the body is different. This is the user DTO as far as I remember, and this could be anything you want. So some error response with the field names, with the messages, whatever you want to return back. But I don't like this approach. Because you need to implement it in each endpoint separately. You need to catch the exceptions there and so on. So you need to repeat a lot of code. That is why the most frequently used way to handle one moment. Let me correct me. Oh, that's bad, I think. Another way to handle the exceptions is controller advice. So we can add the common module and maybe we can define the error package there and create the generic controller advice class. So you need to mark it as the controller advice. Controller advice. So as far as I remember, there is a REST controller advice annotation as well. But as you can see, this is absolutely the same. So it just say that this class should have the response body, but in general it's the same as the controller advice. So we are building the REST API. Maybe it makes sense to use the REST controller advice instead, but it doesn't matter a lot. So let's implement some generic exception handler. So we will expect the exceptions always. I want to return the status. It should be internal service error. So if we do not catch explicitly any exception, we want to get it here and handle it in some generic way. So I want to add some logs, and I want to write to the logs that unexpected, unhandled exception occurred by node. Yeah, and yeah, we need to define some errors. Error DTO. So, and in the error DTO, we have the string field maybe, and the message, string message. Yeah, for example, we want to say that there is an error in the, for example, in the email field, and the message, the user already exists with such email, for example, right? So, one moment, data, maybe we can convert it to the record. IntelliJ should suggest to us. No? IntelliJ is, you are lazy. You are lazy, really? We don't need it anymore. Yeah, error DTO, and we want to, but yeah, here is the problem, and we want to return, we always need to return the error response, for example, error response DTO, and it should contain the list of the errors, because, for example, if we are validating some form, you know, we want to provide a list of the errors. And for example, you could have some validation errors in this field and this field as well. And we want to provide all full list of the errors, you know. Error DTO. Record. I always forgot about this records error DTO. Errors. Okay, and we want to return the error response here. So, and new error response, and we need to provide the list of the exceptions, list of the errors, and this is the generic exception. So we want to say that just unhandled exception occurred, and that's it. We don't want to expose internal errors to the client. So in this case, we should not say explicit reason of this problem. So it should be generic. yeah, like this. And let's take a look. We have the controller. Yeah, we have the test here. I set the breakpoint in our controller advice, and it should appear here. Go. Yeah. We are here inside of the method. So this is, as you can see, this is the MethodArgumentNotValidException. This is the, in our case, this is the validation error. This is not something unexpected, right? And for this case, we want to handle this exception explicitly. So, and this is the validation problem, and we want to return the bad request. Yeah, inside of this exception, we can find a lot of different things. Let me remember. Yeah, we can find the errors, and we can find that this is the object name. There is no field. Our annotation is on the class level. That is why we have the object name here. And this is the default message. So we can try to construct something to get our response type. So for example, we can get the get all error, get field errors. Let's take a look here. Sorry for that. So we can get all errors. What is inside? We will get what we need. What is inside of the get field errors? There is nothing. But the field error should contain something different, I think. This is the field error, and you can get the field here and the rejected value. Let's implement the handling for our use case for generic. Maybe we can get, this is the global errors, get all errors, get global errors. What is the global errors? Let's take a look. Yeah, that is what we need, I think. What is the difference between get global errors and get all errors? Get global errors. Get, come on, global. This is the field error. Why I'm here? There is nothing. Maybe on the interface, init result, get nothing here. It extends the errors. Get global error. Get first global error. It's very informative. Determine if there were any errors associated with a field. That, yeah, this makes sense. Okay, let's take all errors. We want to convert it. This is the error. We want to convert it to our error DTO. So here we get the object name. And here we have the default message. So, and we want to collect it to the list, Let me close it. So this is the errors. and we want to return the new error response with the errors. And let's take a look what we will get back. Let's put the breakpoint here in the method to be sure that we get in. Okay, so we got the errors. As you can see, we converted something. What is inside? This is the DTO, and the passwords doesn't match. So looks more or less fine. So we can say that this is the problem on the whole request body level, and the passwords doesn't match. So okay, and yeah, let's generate quickly the expected response in JSON format, and we can use it in our test. Where is our test? Yeah, here, and expect JSON. And this is what we are going to expect. Let's execute our test. Yeah, this was expected value. Yeah, we are good. We are good. One more thing that we need to handle is we need to handle the field errors. So let me remember, this is what is the request name? Let's take a look in the user controller. This is our request DTO. And as you can see, we have some validations. For example, the email cannot be null, and the password, for example, the minimum size is 8. Let's try to get the field errors. Field errors. And we can provide, for example, invalid email and the short password, just short one. It would be the same, but short. It's less than 8 symbols. Okay, so and we make the request. We expect to get the bad request, but the response should be different. We'll keep it right now as it is and take a look. And take a look on the exception here or here. Let's execute it. Okay, we've got method argument not valid exception, and we generated 3 exceptions, but this is, yeah, you see, this is the field is not correct in our case. Let's do something like this. We will generate even 4 exceptions for the passwords that are not equal. Yeah, 4 exceptions, as you can see. And take a look, let's take a look what's here. So this is the exception. As you can see, what type is it? Validation object error. And this is the validation field error. So we need to handle it differently. So for the field violation field error, we get the field and rejected value inside. So we need to implement it a little bit differently. So let's extract it to the method. extract. Come on. I don't like this Windows. Some shortcuts doesn't work that I used to use, you know, in Mac OS. Refactor, introduce variable, extract method. Okay, it should be the same. And here we can check if the error is instance of the field error. And here we can return, for example, the new error and say this is the field. And yeah, let's return the default message and we will see what we'll get back. And yeah, what types of the error do we have? Violation field. Yeah, this is the child of the field error. We saw these exceptions. And one more, this is the violation object error. It's the instance of the, it's instance of the object error. So we want to do it something like this. This is the object error. We want to return it back here. Do we have something interesting here? Looks like no. And maybe it makes sense to throw the exception in case we will get something unusual here, because I want to find out quickly if we have the problem here, if we don't handle the error here in a correct way, and so on. So just illegal argument exception is generic exception in the Spring, but not in the Spring, but in Java in general. So object error. Yeah, it's come on, it's always the object error. So there is no sense to do something like that, right? Let's keep it like this. Okay. I think I need to do something with the formatting. I don't like that the static methods are in the top. So I will work on this. Okay. Let's execute our test once again. So let's take a look on the errors. As you can see, the field is the password and the message size must be between 8 and integer maximum. We can override the messages if we want to, but it's not the topic for this stream. So we will keep it as it is right now. And let's quickly get the response we should expect. Right value as the string. Let's go to the test. And this is the expected value. Let's format it a little bit. Errors. This is the field. And the message. The second object. We need to extract it to the JSON file maybe. It's not readable here, and I cannot format it. Let's do it quickly. Let's do it. I'm going to implement some command package in the test and implement resource loader class. And we can use it public static string load off. And this is the pass. And I want to load the content of the JSON file that I will put in the resource folder in the test, and we will compare the response against the against the content of this file. So this get class, get resource at the stream, class pass, and the pass, I think. Class. Yeah. And it throws the exception. I don't want to handle it explicitly. I will use the sneaky throws from the Lombok. And it returns the input stream. We need to read the input stream. Do we have some IO utils, something like that? IO utils, the test containers, Apache commands. Let me quickly take a look on my another project. I use something here. Look, it's me, but very young. Test. I have something here as far as I remember. Util, test utils, stream utils. What is this? Stream utils. Oh, it's from Spring. Okay, I like it. There are a lot of different ways how to do it actually. So I just don't want to spend a lot of time on this utils class. And what I am going to do is I want to create the folder, for example, fixture. This is for the users. Is it user or users? Let's name it users. This is the what is the method name? User controller. This is the create. Where is it? Create directory, and this is the response that we want to get, and this is the 400. Okay, and I want to take this JSON and put it into the file so we can format it quickly. You can see the errors quickly, you know, in the syntax or whatever you want to see. So IntelliJ handles JSON files super good. And what we can do here, I can say that I have the resource loader and I want to read the file from the fixture. Come on, users, create, response, 400 JSON. Yeah, like this. Yeah, we can extract the request as well. I think I will do a little refactoring a little bit later. I want to show you one more thing. Okay, what is the problem here? File not found. Users create. Aha. IntelliJ. What are you doing? Why is it like this? Okay, something is a little bit wrong. Aha, the order is different. So as you can see, we expected that this field goes first, this one goes second, this is the third, and so on. But we didn't apply any sorting here, and that is why we get a different result. So we need to sort those exceptions. So we need to define how to sort it. I think it's a good idea to sort it by the fields first. Field, and this is the field. Maybe it makes sense to sort it by value as well, but let's keep the simple sorting. We need to solve the problem step by step, so there is no problem yet. We will take a look if it is enough. So we sorted the response by the field names. Come on, I need to update my expected response as well correspondingly. Okay, evaluate response, get content as a string. I've got the content. Oh, put it here, and let's take a look. So for exceptions, the email is the first, password repeat, and the user is on the last place. So looks good as for me. And the test is green. So one more thing that I wanted to show you is the following. I want to be free. Here is the problem. If you try to create the user with the same email, it will trigger the database and we will get the data integration exception. So we can, instead of checking if the user is present in the database, I want to execute the insert immediately because it would be the atomic operation. And here we know that if you will get the data integration exception, that means that user already exists. So, and yeah, in this service layer, I want to create my own exception. User already exists exception. So it should extend from the runtime exception. I used to use the runtime exceptions, so it's more convenient way for me. I don't want to provide any information, so client should decide what to do with this by its own. So user already exists exception. And each module, as you remember, we are using the Spring module, and each package is a separate module. So I want to have the exceptions handling separately. So we have the API, and here we can create the package error, and we can create a user REST controller advice. By the way, let's rename it to generic REST controller advice to follow the annotation name we used. Okay, and what I want to say here, that I want to handle the user already exists exception class. I want to respond the status code conflict because we have such user in the database already. We need to return the same status the same response, because the front end, used to handle such responses already. User already exists exception. Email, yeah. In our case, it's email, right? So here is the problem, little problem that we have. Yeah, let's overwrite exception by our own. User already exists. Here is the compilation error, as you can see, and it says that the module users depends on non-exposed type. So the problem is that this is the common module, and everything inside of the common module on the top level is visible for other modules. But we created our own package error, as you can see, and this implementation is hidden. To open it, as far as I remember, we need to create the package info and name and mark it as a named module or named interface, as far as I remember. So this is the common error, something like that. And now it's fine. So yeah, looks good. And let's try to register the user with the same email. So we have the success case, right? This is should register the user, and we will try to should return conflict if user already exists. So we will keep the same request, and we will take a look. It doesn't matter even the response in this case. So we want to make the first request, and we expect that we will get the 201 status code created, and we want to make the second request, and we expect to get the conflict back. Yeah, and we will check the exception if it is correct, and so on. Okay, get response, get content as a string. As you can see, we got unhandled exception. You see it? Not sure. It should be visible, I hope. So we got here, we was here instead of this method. That is why we need to do some ordering. So we need to say that this controller advice should be executed before the generic one. So and as far as I remember, you can specify the order. This is the highest order, highest precedence, yeah. And this one should be the lowest, maybe. It should work, the last one, if we cannot handle. Yeah, it's by default. It's by default. That's good. And let's try once again. Maybe we can try to set the breakpoint here. So it's very important to specify the order, the correct order. Okay. What is the problem? Postgres? Yeah, that's correct. So the Postgres, through the exception that the user already exists, and we should get, I thought that it should be the data integration exception, but it was something wrong or something different. Okay, it's good to know. Let's set the exception here, and we set the breakpoint here. Go back to our test. In the when you are working with the Hibernate and Spring Data GPA, you get the data integration exception usually in such cases. But here, as you can see, this is the DB action execution exception. It's interesting. DB action execution exception. What we can get here? Get cause. Duplicate key value. Okay, I think it makes sense to replace it to this one. And check our test. Okay, it's green, and let's remove the order again and take a look if it would work or not. Maybe it's not even necessary because we expected another exception and another exception was thrown, and so on. User already exists, it's fine. So remove the breakpoint. Yeah. Order is needed. We got 500 instead of the 409, instead of the conflict. And the order is really necessary here. So in such way, we can get the test green. So such, custom, not a custom, but concrete controller advices should be prioritized instead of the generic one. Okay, I think that's it. But as far as I remember, it should be one more exception that we need to handle in the generic handler. As far as I remember, it should be, where is it? It's tests. Let's take a look. I think I have some implementation here in the command in my another project. So stop, it's validation, REST, global exception handler. Yeah, that one we handled already. And this one, handler method validation exception. Let's take a look. Where is the generic one? Generic. Yeah, we handled method argument not valid exception, but this one, I think this one can be found when you have some path variables that is not valid. Maybe, I don't remember exactly, but this one, that is the exception that we need to handle as well. This is the problem in request params, I think, or in the model attribute. So if you have the exceptions in the request param, you will get this exception back. So, and let's add the this error handling to our to our generic. I like the global REST controller advice. Sounds better, right? Okay, and let's quickly implement exception handler for this exception. We should return again bad request because it's the same, it's some validation. Okay, looks good. And here, let's take a look. Yeah, this one. It's more or less the same. Let me take a look. This is the exception. We got the parameter validation results. We are sorting it in some way. So we are sorting by the parameter name. And here should be the error DTO in our case. This is the parameter name, is the same as the field name in our case. And this is the default message. So maybe we can, I'm interested why I'm trimming it to empty. So maybe there is a chance that the parameter name cannot be resolved in some way. So, okay, let's believe me. I wrote it some time ago, and I hope I had a reason to trim it to empty. yeah, we need to return it. Validation errors, just errors, come on. IntelliJ, sometimes you make me crazy. Response DTO. Yeah, but right now we cannot test it. We don't have any request parameters or something else. So I think we will have a chance to test it a little bit later. But in general, it's more or less the same as the method argument not valid exception. So, and we are handling it more or less in the same way. So yeah, that's it about the error handling in Spring. So we handled the status codes, we handled generic exceptions here related to the Spring. We handled our own exception, as you can see, and returned the conflict status code back. Looks good. So let's push it to our branch at error handling. Okay. So I pushed something there. I don't even remember. I added the link to the YouTube playlist on the GitHub. So as you remember, we have our project open, and you can download it anytime you want. So I just added the link to my playlist on the YouTube where I'm showing the process of the development from the scratch, as you remember. So I just wanted to ask you to subscribe to the channel if you want to follow the process and see the result in the very end. So I'm streaming 3 times per week. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and just 1 hour per session. Unfortunately, I don't have much time to stream more, but in general, we have the solid progress, and as you can see, so we did a lot. Yeah, by the way, you remember that we configured the GitHub actions. We will improve our flow very soon, because we will need to build a Docker image instead of just running build and test here. Oh, test failed. What's going on? We have a problem. Let's fix it quickly. As you can see, it's really good that we have the pipelines, and pipelines can show us immediately that there is some problem. Okay, this is the... we expected unauthorized, but instead of that, we've got the 500. Let's take a look. Where is our global REST controller advice? So we get it here. There is some exception that we need to handle, and looks like that entry point that we implemented doesn't work properly. So we got the bad credentials exception. Something changed, I think. I haven't seen this exception before. Bad credentials exception class. Or maybe it's because we didn't implement JWT authentication filter yet, and that is what we are going to do on the next session. But let's fix it quickly. Yeah, IntelliJ proposed me to do it like this. The only one thing is important for us is the status code. Actually, I think we just validate that we get unauthorized, and that's it. Yeah, it's green. Fix test. Push it. Okay, let's wait while the new action. Come on, where is the new action? Yeah, here it is. Let's wait while it will be executed. And I wanted to say that next time we implemented the authentication previous time, and the next time we are going to implement this JWT authentication filter that will receive the token from the request. It will parse the token and validate that this user exists, this is the valid token, and so on. And not sure, maybe we will use some pre-authorized annotations from the Spring security to validate that the car belongs to the user, for example. But before that, we need to implement some car API, to add the cars, to edit cars, and so on. So we will see. Maybe we will start with the car API, to implement some CRUD operations, create, update, delete, and get by the user. And then we will implement this JWT authentication filter to validate all the requests, that token is valid and other security stuff. So that is the plan for the next stream. So subscribe to my channel. In the description below, there is a link to Discord channel. You can be the first who will join it. I will try to respond to questions if you have related to the Spring error handling and general questions related to our stack, to the Java and Spring and so on. So feel free to ask the questions, write the comments, and of course, subscribe to my channel, and see you next time. Bye-bye.